Our next panelist is Professor A.B. Ota. Professor Ota is an academic turned an administrator. Currently, he is a senior member of the Indian Administrative Service working with Government of Odisha. He is the Special Secretary to Government of Odisha as well as the Director of Tribal Culture Institute at Bhubaneswar. Because I know him pretty well as a very close friend, I know that Professor Ota takes pride more in calling himself a professor of anthropology than an administrator. May I invite Professor Ota, please?
Thank you, Professor Mishra. Thank you all panelists. People have made my life easy, starting from Gregory to Mutatkar ji and Shalina ji. They have made my life easy. I can just, I more look at way forward. Whatever is the crisis, you have already said, but then I'm still tempted to maybe repeat 4 or 5 crises with which anthropology as a discipline is embroiled. Identity crisis is definitely there in anthropology. Why? You say identity crisis, already people have said, I'm not going to repeat. The next thing which is very important is anthropology is losing its presence at the decision-making level, policy-making level at the government. If you look at it, this was not the scenario in the past. See from, very Elwin's time, N.K. Bose, talk of, L.P. Vidyarthi, talk of even P.K. Prabodh Bhaumik, talk of none other than B.K. Roy Burman. They were all taken as advisors to Honorable Prime Minister of India, and they were working at the helm of affairs, advising the top administration. But of late, it is not happening. We must introspect and find out why it is not happening. We must have done some wrong somewhere. So what is that wrong and what is that mistake which you have done, which we should undo it and see that we are recognized. Third important thing, which Gregory has done it in his state and has shown it as an example, is non-existence of this subject at high school level and higher secondary level. Those are the feeder grade. If the feeder grade, the subject is not there, how can you expect students at graduation level? How can you expect students at post-graduation level? We must try. This is, 2020 National Education Policy 2020 has just come. It has given 3 years' time moratorium for the states to adopt it. I think this is an appropriate time that our forum has taken birth, and the new education policy has come, and each state will take a decision how to go about it. This is the right appropriate time. If we can really use this forum as a pressure group, talk to NCERT, talk to Human Resource Development Ministry, I think anthropology can see a better future and crisis can overcome. And once crisis overcomes, employment opportunities can also go hand in hand with that. Fourth, important thing I think I'm saying is declining in employment. You find anthropologists were taken in a number of departments, in a number of institutions, in a number of agencies. But of late, many such agencies, many such administrative departments, even international NGOs and NGOs are no more taking anthropology. What is the problem? We must try to introspect that, and we must have to go to those institutions, departments like, P.C. Joshi Sahib went the other day to ICMR and, got it restored. We must try to make a checklist and find out where anthropology as a subject was taken for recruitment, but it has stopped. We must hammer them, and we must try to take our own pound of flesh from them. And we must also try to analyze and identify where there is possibility of anthropology students to get into jobs. Out of the box we should think, and we should try and find out. I will tell you what little I have done in Odisha when I come to the way forward. It is possible, like Gregory could do it in his state. I think things can have also been done to a certain extent in my state. So if we combine together all models, we can see wonders. If you ask me what is the cause for this kind of a crisis that we are in, I must blame ourselves. We as an anthropology community, and we as anthropology, an individual entity. Somebody said, somebody might have been educated in anthropology, has got a good job, is in a high position. Hardly he or she has contributed to the growth of anthropology. I have seen, I will not name, people can guess and sense. People had occupied the highest position in university. From anthropology, they have denounced anthropology. They have said that the department is a substandard department and the teachers are substandard. If this is the kind of attitude with which we will deal with the subject, being benefited by the subject, then anthropology as a discipline cannot grow. So we have to blame ourselves, our community, and you yourself, and I am also blaming myself. What is the way forward? I tried to jot down while others were speaking, way forward. I have jotted down 10 way forwards, which may be taken up by the forum. And when you stitch things together, you may consider this. The first one is, which already people have said, particularly Gregory has said and Shalina has said, inclusion of anthropology as an elective subject in both high school and higher secondary. And nothing like 2020 new education policy. It is an opportunity. It has given an opportunity to anthropology. We must approach CBSE, we must approach ICSE, and we must approach NCERT, which plays a very important role. And for your information, NCERT is headed by a professor from Odisha, Professor Sanapati. We can go in a delegation, we can even call him for a webinar, and we can talk to him, we can ask him to give a presentation, and we can humbly request him to please get it included. I think there is a possibility. Second important thing is that in all the universities, anthropology to be kept as a discipline for which MHRD, UGC and the state universities should be approached. And this is the forum. Now we have a legitimate forum. We can use this forum to reach out. Third important, which is very, very important thing, I tell you, we have about 1,000 tribal subplan blocks in the state, in the country. Blocks having more than 50% tribal population. This forum can approach Ministry of Tribal Affairs. I will act as the intermediary. You can approach the Ministry of Tribal Affairs that they should give an instruction, or at least they should send a recommendation to all the states to have anthropology in at least one degree college in the 1,000 tribal subplan blocks of the country. This is a mandate of Ministry of Tribal Affairs to see the tribal area develops, and they are pretty aware of the fact that anthropology is a subject which deals also with the tribals, and it has got expertise. Realizing that out of 10 experts, they have taken me and they have taken, Bhagwan Da as two, experts in their expert committee, 8-member expert committee, 2-3 days back. So we can take it forward. Third important thing I must tell you, fourth important thing that I must tell you is internship. We have number of corporate houses. We have number of NGOs, INGOs. We should try, each one of us should try and identify such INGOs, NGOs, corporate houses, and we must see that our students at the postgraduate level do internship with them. That will make them more employable. It may sound, that you may say that only 10 or 12 positions will come here. If you really stitch together the entire country and add that number up, it will be a huge number. So let us try to do that way. Another important, way forward, which I think, is we anthropologists at university level or at research level, we do not focus on action research. We do not focus on policy research. I think it should be mandated that we anthropologists should concentrate on action research and policy research more and more, so that our importance will be felt at the policy level. Reason for which LP Vidyarthi, B.K. Raybarman, and others whose services were sought for by the helm of affairs of the country was only because they were doing research which was more on policy research, which was development research that they were doing, which we have forgotten over the years. Somebody said, I don't remember who the resource person, who the panelist is. Field work over the years have taken a backseat. You see, we did our post-graduation in 1978. Even during those days, we used to go for 2 months to the field. We used to stay with the tribals. Personalities like Professor L.K. Mahapatra, N.K. Behera were our teachers. Usa Deka was our teacher. We were going to the field in 5th year for a month, in 6th year for a month. We were staying with the tribals. And that learning, I tell you, will enrich you so much so that you can make your career in anthropology and you'll be keen to have your career in anthropology. That is no more there. Field work is taking a backseat, so it has to be mandated that 2 months field work is necessary for any postgraduate anthropology to come out. Often we say that, that everything is done at the policy level, everything wrong there for which, our students are not getting jobs. During past 15 years, at least I must have taken 40 to 45 interviews in boards where, other discipline students are appearing at the examination in the Viva, along with anthropologists. I'm very sorry to say that anthropology students are not faring as much as other discipline students are doing. Why? We must analyze it. We must analyze where we lack. We must capacitate them. We must enhance their capacity in a number of ways. What are those ways? Ways you are pure academicians, you try to think of it and try to make a roadmap for them. One thing I can definitely tell you, I was a physical anthropologist. Though in my subsequent years, I did work on development anthropology and did my MPhil and PhD in anthropology, development anthropology. But we have learned methodology, research method from L.K. Mahapatra. And the kind of research method, grounding that he had given us, even people refer to us now, though I am in administration. that kind of a field work and research methodology orientation is found to be lacking. When I ask students, about a thesis, it may be a PhD thesis, what methods you have followed, they are silent. They even do not know what is a priori hypothesis and what is a posteriori hypothesis. They have not read Narwhal and Cohen, I believe. Kamal Babu will, correct me if I'm wrong. We have read those days, Narwhal and Cohen. So you see, that kind of orientation is necessary, for which we teachers must also equip ourselves and we must capacitate our students. One more thing you find in media, social media or print media, all disciplines are coming up with popular articles to make others feel that their discipline exists. But I hardly find, for popularizing the subject, any article is coming out in social media or print media. I think this also should be kept in the agenda. And you see, we are always talking about employment opportunity. Unless employment opportunities are created for our students, they are losing their interest in studying anthropology. We are not getting students with their first choice, for anthropology. We are getting the second choice, third choice, having students in anthropology, for which the quality of students who are passing out, by and large, is not very encouraging. So what we have to do in order to survive anthropology, in order to create opportunities for the students of anthropology and to improve their capacity, is something that we must seriously think about. In this regard, I must tell you, collaborative approach has become the order of the day. We must do interdisciplinary researches so that our students can get equipped better and can get also better employment opportunities. Secondly, we must collaborate with many agencies which can generate jobs. I am telling you, I am a retired person. Honorable Chief Minister has kept me as Director and Special Secretary of the Tribal Research Institute of Odisha. Using my position, I have collaborated with 8 agencies which has generated 65 posts, most of which I have filled from anthropology. How collaboration could be done, I'm just explaining you. I have collaborated with Regional Medical Research Center, with whom my institute is engaged in doing, disease profile amongst the PVTGs of Odisha and other 30 communities of Odisha. We have generated, positions, job for our children. We have also collaborated with United Nations Development Program on a couple of, areas. With UNICEF, with United Nations Family Planning Association, with Odisha Mining Corporation, with Mining Bearing Development, Agency. We used to get 5 crores every year. So these are only tip of the iceberg that I have said. There could be several other agencies. What basically I would like to say, we must also put in our roadmap or way forward more and more collaborative approaches wherein we can generate employment for our children, for our students, so that they won't feel demotivated and first grade students will come, second choice having, third choice having students will not come to anthropology. This is what in brief I am saying. I have a long list which probably will take hours. I'll hand over the piece of paper to Gregory, who is our custodian. He will take it forward. But these are something which I wanted that I must make, put forth before you. But while making the way forward, we must see which are the low-hanging fruits and which are, which will take time. So we must make a short-term and long-term approach in our way forward. When we do, we have to be very careful. And if we stitch together all our suggestions, I think it will be a wonderful way forward that we can look at, and anthropology can try to march forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ota, for sharing your long experience in the field of administration as well as in anthropology. I think we will have a separate kind of occasion to discuss threadbare all these issues that were raised by Professor Ota. Our next panelist is Professor Arbind Sinha, who carries the legacy of Professor L.P. Vidyarthi, like
Vijay
Sahaya Bhai.
Sahaya ji.
Yes, right now he's the advisor and adjunct faculty at Mudra Institute of Communication at Ahmedabad. But he had a long stint at ISRO also as a communication specialist. May I request Professor Arbind Sinha to make his presentation? 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, please.
Good evening, everybody. And I find in a very privileged situation because other than me, all of you have been at one point of time or for 40 years, 45 years in teaching of anthropology. I was not. So probably you can take my view, an outsider's view, but I can tell you, sir and madam, I have been equally concerned for the health of anthropology, and I was in touch with most of you at one point of time or the other, whether I was in Denmark Embassy or I was in ISRO or I was in MICA. I'm still with MICA. So my job was simplified by Shalina and Dr. Ota, because they all mentioned about it. But I want to say that the statement which I made in 1979 in a group headed by Dr. Vidyarthi in a seminar, probably Vijay and Ajit Singh were there, when I raised a question which is still relevant today, and I said that relevance of anthropology, published in 1981. I see another paper by Vinay Srivastav, and it says future of anthropology. We are today again repeating or probably attempting to address the same situation. It's not contemporary crisis. Definitely it's a recurrent, and I'm happy that at least we all have got together thanks to Deepak, and we are really examining it from different point of view. And anthropology to me is a very relevant subject for all these days. When I joined ISRO, nobody could even believe it. When I joined Denmark Embassy, nobody could even believe it. When I joined MICA and became MICA director, nobody could believe it that anthropology training will make somebody to reach that level. But I see three very strong attributes of anthropology: the study of culture, qualitative methodology of research, and holistic understanding of human behavior. Trust me, these are still the crux of any study that you do, any discipline that you name for. Culture is changing, and very rightly Shalina mentioned that culture is changing, so our approach to understanding culture should also change. It's not culture and culture change, the attributes of change. Culture change for policies, education, telecommunication, education, or communication. All these have made some changes, and we should concentrate our focus on all these. That's what my summation is. Today you talk to any, big recruiters are marketing research companies, marketing companies. They have their social sector programs. It is advertising company. They have social sector programs. They all look for somebody who understands culture, the nuances of culture, which they can feed to them. And they have not been able to get a good people. Some of them could find out, always they come for some recommendation and say, who understand it. Our teaching should be focused towards that. The methodology, ethnography. I heard somebody talking about ethnography that we should not linger on talking about ethnography. I can tell you with all my conviction that ethnography is one method. Every discipline is looking for. London School of Economics, we had a professor and he was talking about ethnography. The so basic of anthropology he was repeating, our students, our faculty member will be doing much more than that. I have been invited by many universities to talk about ethnography. It had changed. It's not the same ethnography which I used to do. It's not the same ethnography which Professor Vidyarthi or Dr. Saraswati taught me. 18 months to stay in a village for satellite instruction television experiment, or 19 months for sacred complex of Varanasi. Time had changed, or the time duration, longevity has to be adjusted as per the objective and affordability of the project. So that had changed. We have to change in that methodology also. In ethnography itself, ethnography, auto-ethnography, self-ethnography, netnography, all these new technologies are coming, new discussions are happening. We have to change a little bit. I don't say compromise on the philosophy, but core is still the same, which is anthropological in nature. Our students very clearly, most of us, they realize that the rigor of field study has withered away. Vijay was in the group when we were in the island for 1.5 months, traveling from one island to another island with a professor who was already international figure. And we learned a lot from that professor. Still we carry it. Our students, how much they want to dirty their hands. Everybody wants to go for easy type of research. So conceptualization of research, operation of research, analysis of research finding, and the presentation of research finding. These are the things which they have to master. And once they master, I tell you, probably they will be the first preferred lot of researchers or whatever name they have. They will be working for that. Something which Uta Sahab has mentioned. Sir, I want to say that in academia, industry interface is the talk of the academic institution today. All of them, they look forward for inviting people who are from the industry so that life experiences they can share, and they can also take our students for internship. That should be established, and probably that will help you a lot. We have to broaden our domain. Not only for, we always, from 1971 when I entered in that's anthropology, till date, we have the same stereotype of thing. There are other avenues mentioned by other speakers. Industrial anthropology. How many of us have special papers? I'm not telling that you have a department of industrial anthropology, but you can have modules of industrial anthropology, modules of development anthropology. Vidyarthi during his last time always talked about development anthropology. I was very close to him because of this 10th ICAES and other. Communication anthropology. What somebody said, it's a media. Media is one, communication is bigger, it's a part. And anthropology of health, little bit broaden the scope of medical anthropology, communication of health. So these are the areas where probably you can think about. One more based on my personal experience. There is a whole host of data collection people available in all states. And I can say they are in thousands who are employed under research projects for collecting one sort of data, social service data. And there's a big market for that. How many of our anthropologists have entered into that entrepreneurial venture of organizing such programs? It's a very pay, good amount, good exposure. And that otherwise, what happens, the type of people who are running this show, they don't know research anyway. These are my experiential, probably, suggestions to you. And since I say it's an outsider's view, accept it or you don't accept it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Professor Sinha. It was very brief but very effective, and thank you so much for that. Our last